Thank you for joining Waterbreak. This episode is brought to you by Dusty Rose Tallow. To find out more about them, go to dustyrosetallow.com. Enjoy Waterbreak.
Hey y'all, welcome to Waterbreak Faith Fitness Show with Gabriel the Water Boy and Annie. It's good to be with you guys. Thanks for joining us. If you guys want to be in a conversation with us, you got to email us at RenchMedia@gmail.com. And secondly, we had a little glitch on our last podcast. It's all fixed, but you got to delete the old podcast and then re-download the new podcast. So that happens occasionally with the podcast world. And so
that's the one with Dr. Cam.
Yeah, Dr. Cam.
Dr. Cam McDonald, and everybody loves him, so that's why people keep messaging us like, I can't get it. Just delete it.
Public service announcement.
Re-download it and
on all that.
Yeah.
I'm excited to bring you guys our guest here, Dr. Joelle Boheimer. Boheimer?
I knew you were going to try to say.
I should have clarified that before I brought Dr. Joelle on. He's a doctor of chiropractic. He's one of 46 chiropractor doctors in his family. He's raised in a holistic family. He's passionate about natural health, one of whether organic foods, green living, creating a healthy and resilient body, mind, spirit. Dr. Boheimer, I'm so sorry, Dr. Boheimer.
See, Dr.
Joelle is often invited to share his views about these topics. He also serves as an advisory board member for GreenMed, info.com. That's green as in color green, med as in medical, info.com, the world's most widely referenced natural health database. Very interesting. Glad to know about that. Dr. Joelle received his Bachelor's of Science degree from University of Manitoba in 1996. His Doctor of Chiropractic degree from Life University in 2000. He has practice in Italy, Canada, currently never leaving Naples, Florida. Dr. Joelle, thank you so much for coming on, and sorry for butchering your last name.
That's great. You're close enough. I appreciate it. Happy to be here, guys.
So we want to get into the business of chiropractic, kind of the perceptions of it, and then we want to get into some like practical health results from working with a chiropractor. But first, you actually are suing the CDC. I'm actually very good friends with Dr. Jay Bhattacharya and those guys. Why are you suing MAGA?
Well, we August 15th, an organization I co-founded called Stand for Health Freedom, along with two pediatricians, officially launched a lawsuit against the CDC. And the reason we're doing that is because, the U.S. Vaccinations childhood schedule is the most aggressive in the world. To the point where, on average, there's 72 vaccines given to a child. And that pharmaceutical company, the vaccine manufacturers, actually have total immunity from liability. So in 1986, they were given a liability immunity shield, which means that their products could harm people and there's no recourse. Your only recourse is actually a vaccine court, which is very difficult to get to and to get through. When they were given that immunity shield in 1986, they were told that they had to actually study the safety of the full vaccine schedule by 1998. Okay, and they never did that. They've never
12 years.
Studied 12. They literally had 12 years to go out and say that our products are safe and effective on these children. And they never did that. And so the Institute of Medicine in 2002 and again in 2013 asked the CDC to do it again. We want to see the safety studies on these vaccinations in our children. And they decided just not to do it. And so we're suing them because it's now, obviously, as you know, it's mandated to go to school. No shots, no school. And so when they mandate things like that, they have to show that they're safe. And they've never done that. So everybody says, they're safe and effective, but there is no science that supports that. People are generally not aware of that, but they've never done the research. And so we're suing them to be able to show them that research has not been done, and therefore ideally what happens is that they cannot mandate those shots for school, because a lot of people just line up for the shots. They line up their children because they think they have to. They're not even aware of religious exemptions that exist in 47 different states, or medical exemptions in most states. Right. And so, it's a big endeavor. There's an article on Bloomberg Online about it. We've been contacted this morning. We had interviews with the New York Times. It's making a big stir. We're excited about it. And we're hoping we're going to make a real difference here for children.
Well, that's crazy.
So the goal of the lawsuit is basically to show that the vaccine schedule was not medically and scientifically put together. And what else?
Well, and because of that, what happened was because they never did the research. For example, Dr. Paul Thomas, who's also a co-sponsor of this, who's on this lawsuit, he did the research. He had, I think it was, maybe 24,000 patients that he looked at and did research over the last 30 years of his practice on the outcomes of fully vaccinated, partially vaccinated, and unvaccinated kids, because he would allow patients to do it. And he came out with that. And there's a book written by him and Robert Kennedy Jr. called Vax versus Unvax. And the stats are there. They did not discriminate. So they did not remove one patient from this study. And the results are fascinating. So sometimes there's 700% more disease in certain diseases, like, for example, neurodegenerative diseases in fully vaccinated children versus unvaccinated children. It's 500% more allergies, 400% more asthma, 180% more gastrointestinal disorders. So, the research is very clear, and we know why the CDC is avoiding it, because now that Robert Kennedy is HHS secretary, he actually went back and saw that they did research in 1998. And actually what they did is it took 5 iterations of statisticians to doctor the data to be able to show that vaccines generally are safe and effective. But Incredible. They were hiding all of the autism, the hundreds of percentage points higher in the vaccinated, that they're autistic versus the unvaccinated. So they actually, they removed that data to show that it was safe. And we now know, because he's made this transparent, that there's an 1,135% increase in autism if you follow the CDC vaccine schedule. Right? And so I think parents would want to know that. I think now we're looking at an autistic rate that was 1 in 10,000 when we were children and when we were kids, and now it's 1 in 32 and 1 in 19 in California, and 1 in 14 in a county in New Jersey. And these are seminal, like California and this county in New Jersey. These are seminal counties, meaning that they have the best data out of all the other counties and states. And so what you see there, eventually we get the data from the rest of the states, and it shows the same.
Wow.
So there's an explosion of neurodegenerative diseases and chronic illness in children. And so we have to evaluate what we're doing to our kids. And it starts with vaccines, because we give them on day 1 in the U.S. The hepatitis B vaccine, a sexually transmitted disease, or through dirty needles. Right? It's really fascinating that the whole world just kind of trust the experts, yet the experts have lied about the data, right? And so we're taking them to court to hold them accountable.
That's great. So basically, if we follow standforhealthfreedom.com, we'll be able to stay up on that lawsuit and everything that's going on.
Absolutely. Please follow us. We're on Instagram, Stand for Health Freedom, Twitter, and just go to standforhealthfreedom.com. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Joelle, for that. So let's get into the meat of what we wanted to discuss with you. Now, how long have you been a doctor in the chiropractic field? And correct any language that I say about this. Please.
No worries. We're doctors of chiropractic, and I've been practicing for 25 years now.
Okay.
So I started university in 1993. I graduated in 2000 because I took the accelerated program. I went no breaks in the summer, kind of. And I graduated in 2000. I practiced in Italy for a short time, Canada for 10 years, and 15 years here in Naples, Florida.
Yeah. So, there's basically, my wife was talking to you offline before we started going live, and to me, it seems like there's kind of 2 broad views of how people view the chiropractic world. Either they love it, they're all in, or there's a group of people who think it's voodoo science.
Yes.
Let's talk through the voodoo stuff first.
Yeah.
Why is that notion there, or that idea there? And, how do you defend your work and efforts in the industry against kind of those kind of naysayers?
Oh, well, you've opened up a can of worms here. Do we have a few minutes to talk about this?
Yes, we do.
Okay,
Go.
let's go all the way back to the beginning, okay? Because what's chiropractic was developed in 1895, right? And then chiropractors started helping patients, and they started doing really well helping patients. And so a bunch of people were seeing these chiropractors, and the medical profession weren't liking it. And once in 1910, after they came out with the Flexner report, they tried to basically homogenize all of medicine. Okay, in other words, no more using herbs. They wanted it to be, big pharma controlled medicine. So they got rid of all the little schools in medicine and went to bigger medical schools that you had to go through. By 1963, the American Medical Association said it is unethical for a medical doctor to affiliate with a chiropractor. It was one of their statutes. And so in 1976, Chester A. Wilk and a couple other chiropractors actually sued the AMA. And this court case took 14 years. It went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the reason they sued them is they said that they were attempting to eliminate the chiropractic profession. And during the lawsuit, what was discovered was that, yes, of course, the AMA developed a whole committee on quackery specifically to attack and get rid of the chiropractic profession. So if you've ever heard the word quack before, that's because the committee on quackery was designed for chiropractors to be able to get rid of the chiropractic profession because we were impeding on their business. This is the whole history. So when you hear voodoo science and it's non-scientific, it's because that seed has been planted in humanity since the 1960s. So people of that generation definitely have, my father was a chiropractor. He graduated in 1973. In 1973, you were a witch doctor if you were, my grandfather was embarrassed that my father was a chiropractor and actually did not talk to him for a couple of years while he was going to chiropractic college when he came back. And it was only until his friends, my grandfather's friends, saw my father, as a patient. Judges, lawyers saw my father and got incredible results and then they told my grandfather that my grandfather kind of re-welcomed my father.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was intense. But, the reason my father became a chiropractor is because he had personal experience. He had chronic sinus problems and migraines for 10 years, from 8 to 18, where you remember the drug Dristan? Where it's a nasal spray, right?
Okay.
He would use a bottle a day. So my grandparents would literally buy a box of it, 30-day supply from the pharmacist every month. And my dad just kind of burned through those, and he would never get a solution to his sinus problems and sinus migraines until he went to the chiropractor. And it took actually the neighbor to pay for his first few chiropractic visits and to send him there because she was frustrated at seeing him walk home from school every day with a nasal spray. So after 3 months of adjustments, he never had a migraine again, and he never had a sinus problem again. So now we're 46 chiropractors in our family, and it took a lot it was all through kind of personal experiences that my uncles and my aunts and my great aunts had for themselves, and they became chiropractors. And that's why people became chiropractors. And that's why you have the divide. You have the lovers who've had the experience, and you have the kind of haters who are just following this kind of like quacks, anti-science from the 1960s, from a very calculated effort from the American Medical Association to annihilate the chiropractic profession. And most people, I don't share that very often, but
that's incredible.
Yeah, you opened that opportunity up, and I think it's important for people to understand that history. I have a little other anecdote there. My father became president of the Manitoba Chiropractic Association, and in 1993, the pediatric death review comes out. So they review the deaths of kids from the year before, and then they make recommendations, right? So like wear your seatbelt, wear a helmet when you're biking, stuff like that comes from the pediatric death review to reduce deaths in children.
Okay.
And in 1993, on the cover of the Winnipeg Free Press, the number one recommendation from the pediatric death review was do not bring your child to a chiropractor. Okay.
Oh
So
my goodness.
my father was the president. He's passed away now. God rest his soul. But it was incredible. So he was the president of the Chiropractic Association. So they went through every child that died for the 5 years period before that. And not one had ever seen a chiropractor. Neither had any of their parents ever seen a chiropractor. So he ended up suing the College of Physicians and Surgeons, which is the medical association in Canada.
Uh-huh.
And they settled out of court, and ultimately they won. And what they found again was they had created the Canadian Stroke Consortium, organized and orchestrated in every single one of the provinces across Canada to try and harm chiropractors, to try and pin strokes to chiropractors, which is false. It's incredible. This is incredible. And we're talking, this was in the year 1999 and early 2000 when the lawsuit kind of finished.
Yeah.
He passed away right before the end of the lawsuit. But he was, I got to read the documents. It was fascinating to see thousands of documents, thousands and thousands of pages on the medical associations literally plan with chiropractic and how to get people out of their offices. It was mind blowing to see that as a young student in chiropractic, right? You can imagine, like, what? This is real? Like, this is insane to me, right? Yeah. So I have a lot of history there in personal with my father.
So one last maybe kind of negative question here.
Yeah.
What about the people you hear? You say, oh, don't go to the chiropractor. I went in to fix my back and they made it worse.
Of course, there's a couple of things that can happen, right?
Yeah.
That's possible. Just like there are good doctors, there are good chiropractors and not good chiropractors. Yeah. But generally what happens is when you're working with a joint that's been restricted for years, like a segment of the spine that's maybe partially degenerated, and you start to get movement and mobility in there, you can get more sore after the first 1, 2, 3, or 4 adjustments. That happens, right? And if the chiropractor is not warning the patient that that's a possibility, then they might just stop and say, oh, this isn't working for me. It actually made me worse, right? Yeah. So that is a possibility, but sometimes you have to go through that process. That doesn't happen to everybody, trust me, but for about 10% of the population, you have to go through that process in order to get better on the other side. Yeah.
That's helpful. I got positive questions now, but.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have a question to that point. I just wonder, and you and I were kind of talking about this before we started, but how much of that sort of story is because people like to look at a chiropractic adjustment as just like, I don't know, going into a store one time and just getting a thing that you need and then leaving again. Maybe that's not the best way to put it, but if I think about it, from like a personal training standpoint, if I was training a client who I'd worked with for forever and we were doing, heavy back squats or a heavy deadlift or something, and some random person came up to me and just said, hey, can I do that? I'd be like, no, because I don't know anything about you. I don't know what your exercise history is. I don't know what's going on in your body. I don't know how your spine is. I don't know if you know how to hinge. I don't know. And if they did just try to randomly do that, they very well could hurt themselves. And then they could walk away and say personal trainers are bad. Deadlifting is bad. It's all bad. So how much of it is that? And can you speak to like how many chiropractors just keep doing that, where you can just come in, they may not take any personal history, they might not know anything about you, and then they just adjust you because you say you think your back is out, and then that can do more harm than good, as opposed to maybe another route where you commit the time, you commit the money, you do the history, you do the assessment, and you work with someone slowly over time. I don't know. That was a lot, but any thoughts on that?
You guys, these are phenomenal questions, by the way. I love this because the truth is a lot of people like to use chiropractors like an aspirin or a Tylenol.
Right, exactly.
My back hurts. I'm gonna take. So that's what you were describing.
Yeah, right? Fix it. Yeah,
and hope it, and it'll go away. And because that's what people are looking for, right? Most people just fix me in one adjustment, right?
Right.
Because that's what people are looking for. There's a segment of the chiropractors out there that's what they do, right?
They cater to that. Yeah,
they cater to that. So they do their best to try and fix the people in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 adjustments, whatever is necessary.
Right.
Personally, I've been adjusted my whole life. So my father was a chiropractor, like I said. I've been adjusted for 50 years. right? I don't have back pain or neck pain or headaches. I get adjusted to optimize function within my body. My kids are 18 and 20. They've been adjusted their whole lives. It's a completely, just like you're describing, like you can go for a workout once. You're not going to be fit for the rest of your life. You can brush your teeth once. You can't go to the dentist once and expect healthy teeth for the rest of your life. That's totally insane. But people equate fixing them or fixing their back or their neck or their digestive issues with one visit. That can work. But generally, they need a series of adjustments. And once that series to correct the structure of the spine, once the structure is corrected, I recommend ongoing maintenance for a lifetime. That's mind-blowing for people. And a lot of people will think, oh, that's so self-serving. So that, you're just doing that for your own good, for your own business, for your own whatever. I mean, I do it myself, and I've done it before I was a chiropractor because I know the benefits. I've looked at the science, right? And so I want that for myself, just the same way that I eat well, that I go to the gym 5 days a week, that I exercise other ways as well, that I'm out in the sun, that I don't poison myself with chemicals, the same way that I pray, the same way that I do breathing exercises, right? I want the wholeness of my body and being and soul to be healthy. Not just what part of it, right? And so when does that stop? When do you stop praying? When do you stop eating? When do you stop exercising? You don't. And it's the same concept with chiropractic care, with wellness chiropractic care, different than pain relief chiropractic care. Totally different, right? You still get pain relief doing it, but the end goal is optimizing function, because we deal with the nerve system, the brain and the spinal cord and the peripheral nerves that exit the spine. And that's why we actually focus on the spine. It's not because you have back pain that we focus on the spine. We focus on the spine because there's nerves that are inside the spinal cord and the nerves that exit there. That's the reason why chiropractors are focused on the spine. So it's a narrow focus, but with broad body implications, because those nerves go to every organ. So I could give somebody an adjustment and their blood pressure decreases. I could adjust somebody's back and their digestive issues go away. I've adjusted people and corrected spines where their fertility problems have healed. Not because I'm fertility problems, because I'm removing the interference in their brain's ability to communicate to those organs, and then those organs turn on again, right? Because they're shut off by misalignments, and those misalignments happen by so many different things, right? So there are two different ways of using chiropractors. You could use them like an aspirin or a Tylenol. That's fine if you do that. It's not the way I like to practice at all, because it's not the way I live, right? But there's a segment of chiropractors out there that's what they like and that's what they specialize in, which is great.
Okay. So a question here. Me and Annie talk a lot about when you're analyzing your health, try to use as much objective, blood test and, x-rays or whatever. Use as much objective material as you can to help make health decisions. As opposed to, although this isn't to be disregarded, but opposed to how you feel. Now, of course, how you feel matters in all this, and sometimes how you feel is indicating you need to do something or whatever. But because we're like, in some sense, it seems like the health world can be so subjective that it creates a lot of marketing opportunities for this powder or this drink or that kind of thing. We'll go down that road farther. But like, what is the chiropractor world? What do you use in your assessment with a patient to keep kind of your work objective on the patient? I assume you use X-rays, stuff like that, but we'd love to hear what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously I do listen to patients' symptoms and see kind of what they've been complaining of, what's been chronic in their life, what's come and gone, and try to figure out like if they've had prior accidents or major stressors. People don't realize that mental emotional stress is actually the number one cause of misalignment in the spine, because there's a in the brain that feels stress and it controls the paraspinal muscles. So when you get stressed, it actually causes them to contract asymmetrically. It's very fascinating how that works physiologically. But so I do look at the patient's history. And then what's amazing is that I'll also look at their posture. right? To see, like, do you have a head tilt? Do you have a high shoulder on one side compared to another? Do you have a high hip? Are you rotated? When you're standing straight, are your feet aligned, or is there one that's turned out, maybe indicating a rotated pelvis? And so I start there and just take a look. If I see misalignments there, then I'll go in and feel and say, like, what does this feel like? And you know, after feeling spines for 25 years, your sense of touch really develops really incredibly. And so you can feel very specifically, and it's amazing how patients are always fascinated that I'm like, oh, here it is, and like, you can feel that, yeah. I'm like, can you tell how this is tender here compared to this one? And they're like, yeah, of course. I'm like, because that one's not moving properly. That's the sign of subluxation or misalignment of the spine. And then we get the patients to move to see, do they have restrictions of moving or anywhere? Right? Are they able to flex and bend and twist? So are they balanced within their movement? Do they have normal range of motion? If I see any indications there, then what I do personally is I do what's called an SEMG, a surface EMG. EMG is the exact same, it's electromyography, it's the exact same as EKG. EKG is for the muscle of the heart, EMG is for the muscles of the spine. So I run a device down the spine to see, are the muscles balanced that run up and down the spine? And then if I find imbalances there, and the reason I test that is because that's actually a surrogate test to the nerve system, okay? Because it's the nerves that control muscle tone. And so if I see imbalance there, then I take x-rays. And then x-rays are just like, you know, it's like your picture's worth 1,000 words. Like, you could see everything on x-rays. Yeah. It's amazing how many times people are like, oh, my neck pain started 3 weeks ago. I'm not exactly sure why. I look at their x-rays and I'm saying there's like 15 years of arthritis in their neck, or 20, something like that. And I'm like, I can see why your neck's bothering you right now. Right. Mm-hmm. So, and then from there, and from gathering all that data, then I ask a patient, well, I show the patient, you know, what I've found, and then make my recommendations. You know, depending on what's going on, how long the problems have been there for, and if we could correct them or not. You know, there are some patients you can't fix. Like, sometimes the arthritis gets to a point of fusion. You can't undo a fusion, right? Wow. And so sometimes it's too late, but that's pretty rare. Almost all patients are candidates for chiropractic care. Yeah. And again, you know, touching on the subject of like safety and making somebody worse and stuff, there are things on x-rays that we see that say, hey, don't adjust this area of the lower back, because if you adjust it in a certain direction, you'll make them worse. So obviously that informs us. We don't want to do that. We want the best results for our patients. So that's another reason why x-rays are a good idea.
Is that something that you would say, that it's not a good idea to adjust without x-ray first, or is it kind of depend on the situation?
Yeah, it depends on the situation. It depends on the technique that what a chiropractor uses. So you still have phenomenal chiropractors who might not use x-rays. Generally speaking, most techniques will benefit from x-rays. Most techniques. Okay. And so there's so many there's hundreds of different ways of adjusting the spine. Okay, most people aren't aware of that, but there's literally hundreds of different techniques. And so it's good for a chiropractor to understand a variation of those techniques, because not everything works for every patient. Right. But I like to use x-rays because I just feel a lot of confidence, and I base a lot of my adjusting technique off of the misalignment that I see on the person's spine. So it's very specific that way.
That makes sense to me. Yeah. Talk to us about this. If you, and I know this is hard to answer because everybody is different. I totally get that. Every case is probably different, but explain if someone came in with an acute issue, like my back is jacked up from a car accident, or my neck, I can't turn it to the left, or something like that. Explain what the initial treatment to kind of realign and kind of try to fix the problem, like in terms of frequency of visits and how long that might take, versus like maintenance for life. What would that look like in terms of frequency?
That's a great question. Yeah. And again, it's so many variations there, right?
Yes, of course.
So many different types of misalignment, even within the 7 bones of the spine, for example, of the cervical spine. There are so many variations of misalignments and degrees of difficulty of correction. But generally speaking, what happens is we'll start the process. In my office, we'll start the process with adjustments, so physical adjustments. And the average patient would come in 3 times a week for a handful of weeks. That could be 2 weeks, and it could be 10 weeks. You know, like it could be 12 weeks for extreme cases. But, you know, in that ballpark, somewhere around there. and then going down to twice a week and once a week after that. But on top of the adjustments, we actually test our patients for very specific exercises, not the workout exercises that you recommend, but spinal exercises. So we might put a weight on a patient's shoulder to help counterbalance their shoulder discrepancy. We might put a weight on a person's forehead to help with their head forward posture, or with their forward, like their whole body. We might put a weight on somebody's pelvis. And while they're doing that exercises, we have them stand on a vibe plate, and then we take an x-ray to make sure that x-ray works to help change the structure. If it does, right, then we'll do the exercises and the adjustments together, and it just accelerates the results. It's actually phenomenal, because I practiced 10 years without doing that, and 15 years with doing that, and it makes a world of difference when you combine the very specific adjustments with the very specific exercises that are actually tailored to that patient, like the location tailored to that patient, and we do that.
Interesting.
Actually, yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
What are, I'm sure there's a variety of outputs and a variety of kind of wins here, but I work with a chiropractor. How normally is it helping my health and my lifestyle? What normally are you fixing, and what normally are the results of that? And is any of this connected to like nutrition and stuff like that?
Oh boy. Okay.
Big question.
Okay. Let's start about with the benefits of chiropractic with one adjustment. Okay, even with one adjustment. So recent research, if you adjust somebody's cervical spine, give them an adjustment to their neck, what that does, it doesn't just help their neck move better or feel better. It activates what's called the prefrontal cortex, the area in your brain that's responsible for mood, for decision making, for digestion, for immune system. Right? And so you literally get benefits with mood, decision-making, digestion, immune system with one chiropractic adjustment to your neck. To the point where they went further with the research, and they said, well, okay, what type of benefits do you get to the immune system? So there's specific cells in the immune system that actually have a more vigorous activity following a chiropractic adjustment versus before a chiropractic adjustment. So if somebody wants to have their immune system be functioning well, it's a good idea to get adjusted, right? They did research with professional athletes compared to normal people, right? Olympic and pro athletes, like getting paid athletes. And they found that an adjustment to their neck stimulated that area. That area causes what's called cortical drive to the limbs. And they got 16% more strength to their arms and legs just with an adjustment to their neck. And that was the average population, only 6% in professional athletes and Olympic athletes, because they're already so dialed in that, but 6% stronger is a huge difference for those athletes. So, and then you could look at actually every organ system in the 11 different organ systems. So pulmonary system, digestive system, reproductive system, hormonal, endocrine system. You can look at all of them. And there is science that shows benefits with 1, 2, or 3 chiropractic adjustments to all of those systems, right? So vastly different than what people are thinking, like fix my neck, fix my back, fix my headache, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's why, for example, I adjust my kids regularly just to optimize the function of their entire body through their nerve system, because their nerve system is the master controller of their body, right? So the problem we have in our profession is that, NIH, I go up to Washington. I've been up, maybe half a dozen times working with the Maha Coalition. And the issue with our profession is the NIH spends on average $52 billion a year on research. But chiropractic only gets about $1 million of that. And they've only had $1 million of that for the last maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. And so where's the research? It's pseudoscience. Meanwhile, $52.5 billion are going just towards big pharma. Right. And so that's why it's like pharma is so researched. That's why we're going to trust the science and go follow those experts. Right. Yet we have our profession. We have, homeopaths, naturopaths. We have acupuncturists who do great work, but get little to no funding out of this $54 billion a year pool. If we had just a fraction of that, we'll prove the efficacy, because once people go to a chiropractor and they go enough to just get over their pain, they recognize that it's like, I don't know what it is. I just feel better. Like I feel wholer. I feel more together, than I did before.
Yeah. Hey, all. If you care about raising your kids to love Jesus and staying strong in today's world, join us at the Fight, Laugh, Feast Conference, October 16th through the 18th at Rocketown in Nashville. This year's theme is School Wars, not Star Wars, School Wars, all about equipping Christian families to disciple their kids and rebuild Christendom. There's teaching, fellowship, jumpy castles for the kids, fun for the whole family. Annie and I, hopefully our kids too, will be there and would love to see you there. Register now at fightlaughfeast.com. Hope to see you in Nashville.
Does your work have any implication or positive impact on, let's say, obese people or diabetes or, something along those lines?
Of course it does. Yeah. We've had, it's the N of one, but I've had so many thousands of patients over the years, lose weight without changing anything, just by optimizing their nerve system. They digest better, their hormones regulate better. Now, I still obviously recommend optimizing your diet and your nutrition, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm a huge advocate of that. You'd be surprised. I'm like super into that kind of stuff, right? But yeah, with weight loss, with diabetes, the nerves that control the pancreas exit at T7. Most diabetics, you feel around T7 on that bone, and they'll jump off the table. They'll be like, oh my gosh, that's so tender. Yeah, because it's misaligned and the nerve information is not getting there, right? And that misalignment can happen from the organ malfunctioning, sending signals to the brain aberrantly, or from the brain sending signals to the organ with a misalignment there that's been caused by like an outside force, like a trauma, a car accident, a fall, being at a computer all day. So those things, absolutely. Breathing, unbelievable. The VO2 max studies are incredible. I mean, I can give you an adjustment to your upper thoracics, and your VO2 max will improve before and after one adjustment. Like it's insane, the amount, like the far-reaching effects of chiropractic, which is why we're slightly crazy about this. The chiropractors who think like me, we're slightly like, we like to preach and teach all over the place and share this message with people, because I feel like people are missing out. And once the science is there, I think people will flock to chiropractors. Like families who start children off like their babies at chiropractors, they never leave the chiropractors, because they see the difference between well-adjusted children versus their friends who don't get adjusted. I mean, there's a serious difference. No colic, they digest well, no ear infections, right? They're able to focus and study, and they do very well at school, like as well as they possibly can. It's like optimizing their best potential. That's the way we use chiropractic. It's so different than the average person's thinking of chiropractic. Like, hey, I have heartburn, fix my heartburn, right? Okay, we'll do our best, but that might take unwinding your whole spine in order to do that, right? So that's why it's like, I've been doing this 25 years. I'm still fascinated and excited to go to work.
Yeah.
Where I'm supposed to be right now. I'm going to be there really shortly to take care of patients. I still love it, even though I do all kinds of other things, because it's like, it's so powerful. It's like amazing. I could push on someone's back and they digest better. Like, that's insane. Or they're less depressed because of the chemicals that are released in an adjustment, right? It's fascinating. It's beautiful. Thank God. I'm so thankful that I've been chosen to be a chiropractor. And I love doing it. So I'm happy to share it with you guys.
Oh, man.
Last question.
Probably our last question here. Okay.
He's got to go to a patient.
I know. We've taken up a lot of your time.
No.
So
I love
this has been super helpful, and I'm sure our audience really appreciates it. So if you've got them convinced, like, okay, this is something we should look into just for our general health, for maybe our whole family. But from there, in terms of finding a good chiropractor, any suggestions for what people should look for?
Good.
What's a red flag? What's not? Because it's kind of hard to know. I mean, it's the same with, like you said, like a good doctor, a good trainer, you just don't know. And there's so much available out there. But like, help our audience and us know, what should we look for?
Okay, that's such a good question. Thank you for the opportunity to share this. Like, first of all, I have 46 chiropractors in my family. So my father was the first, and everybody became chiropractors, basically.
Who's the best one?
Right? I think my dad was the best, and I think second is my sister. Okay.
Fair enough.
She's visiting right here. But there are some chiropractors in my family, I don't like their adjustments. So I don't like getting adjusted by them. There are others, I love their adjustments.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean those are bad chiropractors, though, because they help their patients and their patients love them. So I guess advice number one is, don't stop at one chiropractor and say it didn't work. Right? It might not have worked for you well, but there could be another technique, another chiropractor, another approach that is amazing for you that you just haven't uncovered yet.
Right.
Okay? Now, that said, I do like chiropractors who generally take the time to figure out what's going on with you, who really pay attention, feel your spine, probably take x-rays to and develop some type of strategy, as opposed to just, oh, you're hurt on your back, come lie down, I'll give you an adjustment and go. Do you see what I mean? Like, you're not going to get those specific care that way. And specificity makes a huge difference. You can still get improvements with generalized care, right? But specific care is way, way, way better, in my opinion. That said, I could send you to, there's a chiropractic group I belong to called maxliving.com. There's hundreds of chiropractors across the country, right? And you can find, you can just type in, find a chiropractor, and you can put in your zip code there, and even you can
do it right now. Keep going.
And even if there's somebody that isn't close by, you can call a chiropractor who's close by and say, hey, who might you recommend in this area for me? And we're always happy to find good chiropractors for people, even if they're not coming to see us, because we want you to have a great experience. We want you to have excellent results. We want you to become a raving fan of chiropractic, obviously.
Right.
So we're always happy to do that for people.
That's awesome. Those are great recommendations. That's actually really helpful, and we should look that up and just see who.
Yes, we got one in Post Falls and Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene might be the people you were telling us about earlier.
Oh yeah, fantastic. The Sousleys, amazing family. They run a fantastic office there. And yeah, if they're too far for you, for example, you just give them a call and just say, hey, here's where I live. I can't make it up there. Who do you recommend in this area? And they'll be happy to help you. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Dr. Joelle, I know you got to go. Thank you so much for your time on Waterbreak. Appreciate you and your work.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, you guys. It's been fun. Have a great day.
Super fun.
Thank you guys for joining Waterbreak. We'll see you guys next week. Again, if you want to be in a conversation with us, email us at RenchMedia@gmail.com. Thank you for joining Waterbreak.
Bye, guys.